A lot of disagreement is going on out there. You got in life and society out in the world, people think things should be this way or that way. They have their solution, they have their lane, they have their take. But isn't that also the case in sports? And we're also talking about here within our community, Steeler Nation, particularly when it comes to the quarterback position, right? Everyone's got their stance. This guy sucks. We need to bring in this dude. This is going to be the guaranteed upgrade over that guy. He's the franchise. He's not. We got all these takes out here. All of them. Everyone's got a lane. And I'm a part of that too. Like I got my stance, right? I put my 2 feet in the ground. I'm saying Pickett, he would be just fine for our 2024 starting quarterback. I'd also like to sign Mason, have it be a competition between KP8 and Mason this offseason. Like, that's the direction I want to go in. Not a lot of people agree with me. But again, going back to what I said at the very beginning, the first words I said, there's a lot of disagreement out there. There's a lot. So what I'm going to try to do here today, at least in this beginning monologue here, I'm going to try to bring the people together. Can we have some peace today? At least just for today. Because I know that's not going to happen all the time because this is sports talk. And, sometimes we got some hot takes. We got some hard stances. And we go back and forth, which is great. That's what you got to love that about sports. But today, I'll be the middleman. Can we meet in the middle here? Can we go from our extremes and say, hey, all right, I actually see a common ground. So I already said, I think KPA can still be the guy. I do. I think he would be a fine option for us in 2024. But there's all these people out here saying we got to trade for Justin Fields. We got to sign a Kirk Cousins. We got to sign a Russell Wilson. We got to re-sign Mason. That's a take I have. I think that'd be a good play. Have the competition between him and KP8. But here's my thing. Can we at least agree on this? With all those options out there, there is no guarantee. There is no certainty. I know a lot of us like to think we know it all. But I think in this instance, we don't know it all. And this is what happens when you don't have Big Ben around anymore. Just to go for the reason. Like, let's not take that for granted here. When you don't have your bona fide franchise guy, you're going to have takes that are saying, hey, bench this guy, sign this guy, bring him in, I cut this. Like, that's how it's going to be. Whenever you don't have a franchise guy, whenever you don't have certainty at the position, you're going to get a lot of uncertainty, I guess. That's what I'm really trying to get at here. Because for all the people that are saying Justin Fields is going to be a slam dunk trade, that he's going to come in here and be the future, no question about it, multi-time Pro Bowler, he'll be the Steelers' answer for the next 10 years. For all those people that are saying that, why can't they see the other side of the coin and like say, hey, can't Pickett develop too? Like, if Justin Fields can leave the Bears organization and apparently come here and be this whole new quarterback, because the way everyone's talking about Justin Fields right now, or most people, I would have thought we're getting a Joe Burrow or Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. But I don't think my eyes are lying whenever I look back on Justin Fields these last 3 years. He ain't that. He's actually very far from that. 10-28 winning, or 10-28 record. Like, that's how many games he's won. 10 games over the last 3 years. Like, come on, man. And there's a reason once we hit the midway point of last season where you Bears fans out here legitimately asking themselves whether or not Fields was worse than that Tyler Badgett dude, undrafted rookie off the streets. Now, I'll give Fields credit. He finished the season strong, but like, bro, 2.5 years in the Fields career, like, you're legitimately wondering if an undrafted rookie free agent is better than him. But I get it. Fields has the upside. He's got the talent. There's a reason he was picked in the top 10 a few years back. I get it. That's why he's an intriguing trade prospect. I'll give you that. Like, if we don't re-sign Mason, or if Kenny Pickett's the only dude in the quarterback room, in 2 or 3 weeks, and the Steelers say to themselves, hey, I think we got to bolster this room. Why not bring in a Fields, a guy that we liked whenever he was coming out? I get it. I will understand that. I will completely understand that. I still lean Pickett. I think Pickett has been the better quarterback up to this point, but that's neither here nor there. My plea is, can we at least agree that Fields isn't a slam dunk? Can we agree on that? There's uncertainty, but just as there's uncertainty with Fields, isn't there uncertainty with Pickett? And that could be in a good way or a bad way. But just like Fields, the uncertainty could be good, could be bad. Like, why are we just knocking or just writing off the potential good that could come from Pickett next year? The dude's only been in the league for 2 years, has played about a full season and a half worth of games. You mean to tell me Fields is guaranteed to develop and hit his full potential, but Kenny Pickett can't for whatever reason? I don't know why. Why can't Kenny Pickett? Kenny Pickett can make every throw in this league. Kenny Pickett, over the last, I believe it's 17 games, it has a 12-5 record for the Steelers. Dude wins games out there. I know it's not a quarterback stat, but it also is the most important thing for a quarterback to do. The dude has contributed to us winning games, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, that is just a straight fact. Is 7 or 8 game-winning drives? It might even be 9 over the last 2 seasons. Has a excellent fourth quarter quarterback rating. Doesn't turn the ball over. Yeah, would we like more from a yards and touchdown perspective? Sure, 100%, sure. But the dude has added to the Steelers winning games. He has. Justin Fields, I get it. He's dynamic, got the highlights and everything, but also has a ton of turnovers. There's uncertainty with both. Like, that's all I'm saying. Can we agree on that? Can we at least agree on that? Fields, he's got the upside, he's got the talent, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be a great quarterback down the line. I could go off a list of players who have a ton of talent, but didn't really pan out. And Kenny Pickett, I got to see whenever he hit his ceiling in college, what he could do. Almost won the Heisman. So I'm holding out hope for that, man. I am. I got to see him do it to a certain extent in the pros, which makes me believe, yeah, I truly believe if he does continue, if he can make last year an outlier, if he can get under an actual good offensive coordinator like an Arthur Smith, then yeah, I think he can be the Steelers' answer for sure. But he's left the door open. I thought he was going to answer more questions here in year 2, but instead he's left more questions. Now with Mason Rudolph, is another option. If we bring him in, we got a small game sample size last year of what he's capable of. So now the question is, can he do it over the course of a full season? Russell Wilson. Now this Russell Wilson scenario is very interesting right now. But let's say Kirk Cousins. Coming off Achilles, he's 35, 36. Never really got it done in prime time or in the big games. Will he be worth the money? I'll give him credit. He's more proven than Pickett or Fields or Mason. Like, he's the better quarterback right now. But is he going to be worth that money coming off of this injury? New system? Up there in age? Again, a little uncertainty. I'd say less uncertainty than the other guys, but you want to pay for that? And then with Russell Wilson, you could say a bunch of the same things as Kirk Cousins. He's up there in age, had a couple down years in Denver. But you are hearing some talks that if he is cut by Denver, might be willing to take a pay cut to join with a contender, particularly with the Steelers. So if that's the case, that's a whole nother discussion for a different day. My point in all this, it's mainly pertaining to like the Pickett Fields discussion is, can we just agree? Like, there's uncertainty with both guys. If you have your leaning one way or another, like, that's fine. This is sports. It's supposed to happen. But like, don't just write off one dude or the other. Like, I'm sitting here as a Pickett guy. I'm not going to write off Fields completely. If we bring him in, having legit open competition between Fields and Pickett, and Fields wins, so be it. We're rolling with him. But can we get the same benefit of the doubt to the quarterback that's already on the roster right now, Kenny Pickett? Can we at least do that? Can we agree on that? Please. That's all I'm saying. What's the chat saying, though, man? Shout out to everyone for stopping through. Andrew Wimmer says, what's good, Deke? Also says Fields has 38 fumbles in 40 games and 30 picks in 40. Wait, I didn't even know that was a real stat. I know he had that many picks. Wait, 38 fumbles? I didn't even know about that. I didn't even know about the fumbles like that. I thought it was just turnovers. Like, I knew he had fumbled. The 38, though, I didn't. Those probably aren't all lost, but still, you put the ball on the ground. That's not good. Not good at all. Andrew Wimmer says, I'd rather have Russ on a small contract. If not, I want Kenny Pickett. Yeah, I'm not even going to lie, man. Like, if Russ says to the Steelers, I really want to play here in Pittsburgh, I think we can win a Super Bowl here. Like, that's the only thing on my mind. I'm getting paid a lot from the Broncos still. I just want to focus on ball and getting my reputation back and winning games. That's it. That's all I want to focus on. Let me come here. I'll sign for $5 million, $10 million. That's tough to pass up. I can't even lie. I can't lie. I will understand if the Steelers take Russ up on that. I'd understand it completely because you look at Russ last year, had a pretty solid season. And I don't think the Denver's receivers are that good. I think he had like 29 total touchdowns or like 7 or 8 picks, single-digit picks. And that was only in 15 games. So he had 2 more games. Probably would have been up over 30 touchdowns over last season. It's not bad. That's not bad. So I would completely understand it. And it's Russell Wilson. Dude's a Hall of Famer. Dude, get it done in the playoffs. Dude is clutch. Like, I mean, you want to talk about fourth quarter comebacks. That's one of the things Russell Wilson is known for. Absolutely. Throw a good deep ball. You know, Mason was chucking up the deep ball to Pickens late in the season. Russell Wilson is capable of that. There's no doubt. We've seen that how many times with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett out there in Seattle. Doug Baldwin back in the day. So, yeah, that was just what I had to get off my chest here, you know. First stream back in a minute. I've been thinking about this quarterback conversation and just how it's playing out among Steeler fans right now. Just thinking to myself, like, what? How does everyone know Justin Fields is going to be amazing here? Like, how do you know that? Like, what has he done? What has he done? I'll give you the upside. I'll give you the talent. I'll give you. He'll show you flashes. But man, he's that much better than Kenny Pickett? No, I don't think so. I don't think so on that. No. Now, is there a case? He didn't have the best of scenarios out there in Chicago. For sure. Did he have less weapons than Kenny Pickett? Maybe. I guess there can argument be made there, at least early in Fields' career. But let's not forget Kenny Pickett was dealing with Matt Canada here the whole time. First game Matt Canada gets fired, Kenny goes off for almost 300 yards and a touchdown. Offense looked night and day better than the week before. But then, unfortunately, Kenny gets hurt in Arizona, and we know how the rest of the season plays out. That's why we're sitting here and talking quarterbacks. Like, Kenny did leave the door open. I said it at the time. Once Mitch got his first start, it was against New England. I said, listen, man, like, Kenny's opened the door. If Mitch comes out here, balls out against New England, balls out rest of the season, like, I think Mitch will be the guy going into the playoffs. But we know that didn't happen. In fact, the opposite happened. We had to bench Mitch and put in Mason. And Mason played awesome, man. Like, Mason played really good. And that's why we stuck with him for the rest of the season. Like, that was the best play at the quarterback position we've seen over the last 2 years. But that was only 4 games for Mason Rudolph. There's a reason, going back 2 years, we drafted Kenny Pickett and signed Mitch Trubisky. There's a reason, like, we didn't believe in Mason all the way. But is this new Mason the real Mason going forward? Or was that just a fluke? How much are we going to pay him to find out? how legitimate is the competition going to be between Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett? Like I said, a lot of uncertainty out here with the Steelers quarterback position. A lot of questions to ask. And we'll find out. But there's a lot of know-it-alls out here. There's a lot. Trust me, I know ball. Trust me, I know ball. I'm not going to back down from that. But we do got to admit, there's a lot in flux with this offense. There's a lot in flux, particularly at the Steelers QB spot. A lot of it. You can make a case for a lot of different things the Steelers could do this offseason. You make a case. I'm leaning Pickett and Mason right now. Knee-jerk reaction. Now, Russ has not been cut by Denver yet, and we have not seen what Russ is willing to take as a contract for his next team. Now, that's up in the air. I think that's a conversation for a different day in the future, whenever that's going to be. That might happen soon. That might happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks before the new league year. But before we get into like the main topic of conversation here, let me go over some quick things that I saw on the internet recently pertaining to the Steelers. First, Cam Heyward's tweets. He's not happy with how he's being perceived these days, at least on the football field. He won Walter Payton Man of the Year, so everyone thinks he's an amazing guy off the field, right? But a lot of people think he's washed. Maybe he should hang it up. Maybe he needs to take a pay cut for him to stay on the Steelers. I don't think that last thing I said there is a maybe. I think that actually does need to happen. But here's what Cam had to say. He says, the couch GMs are out. They have it their way. I will retire. This is a typo. I retire, and we will have 15 different quarterbacks. Man, you got to love Steeler fans for the passion. So at least he appreciates us. Funny how you get hurt and kill yourself just to get back to play and not be 100%. Now they want you to retire because I was hurt all year. Does the shrug. At least I know where y'all stand. Y'all quick to forget when I'm healthy, but I look forward to reminding y'all. Says he uses it for fuel. I honestly love it. I let my mind find the dumbest things to push me forward. Hashtag 97 motivation. All right, so he's doing the Michael Jordan approach because how many people are actually saying Cam should retire? No one's saying that. I'm saying he needs to take a pay cut because his cap hit isn't worth what Cam Heyward's play is right now. Not even just that. I think it would help the team and help us bring in more players. Like, I think a restructure, some type of extent, like that should happen, like no matter what. But based off, what he did last year, I just don't think, a cap hit of 20 plus million is the wisest thing to take on for the Steelers. I don't. He also retweeted a Kobe tweet from February 24th, 2013 that says, amnesty that. Kobe was talking, or what was it? He was clapping back at Mark Cuban because Mark Cuban back on, February of 2013 said that Kobe should be an amnesty candidate for the Los Angeles Lakers. Essentially, like the Lakers should cut him and cut ties so they could clear up cap space. And Kobe played the Dallas Mavericks on that day, or maybe the day before that. I don't remember exactly. But then tweeted out, all right, how's that for an amnesty? And Kobe went off against the Mavericks and won the game. That's essentially what happened. So Cam Heyward is taking that Kobe tweet and sending it out there to, I guess, Steeler fans or just people that think he needs to retire, that we should cut him or have him take a pay cut, saying, all right, how about you amnesty that? Thing is, though, we haven't seen Cam Heyward play in 2024 just yet, but he's calling it out. He's going to have a bounce back year. All right, I'll trust him on that. I like the energy. I 100% like the energy. I feel a little attacked on these tweets, though. I do, because I was someone over like the last week or two that said Cam Heyward definitely needs to take a pay cut. And this was after he said on his podcast that there was no way he was taking a pay cut. I'm like, nah, that needs to happen. Let's just be real. Let's be real. Even though you say you don't want to take a pay cut, I don't know if the Steelers would necessarily agree with that. Now, is it a complete pay cut? Or is it a contract restructure? We extend it. Like, there's ways to do this. There's ways to do it. But the cap hit needs to be lowered on Cam Heyward's contract. No doubt about it. How about this one? Found a stat yesterday on Instagram that Najee Harris was one of 5 running backs over the last 2 seasons to have 1,000 rushing yards in each of those seasons. The other 4 were Tony Pollard, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry. What was the other one? I don't know. I don't want to pull it up on my phone right now. Let me see. How good is my memory here? Tony Pollard, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry. I knew I was going to forget it, but I just remembered it's Travis Etienne. So those 4 guys plus Najee Harris, the only 5 guys that have 1,000 rushing yards each of these last 2 seasons. But when I saw this stat, I was like, wait, hasn't Najee had 1,000 in each of the last 3 seasons? So I double checked each of those 4 other guys to see if that streak extended for another season. Turns out Najee Harris is literally the only running back in the NFL to have 1,000 yards in each of his last 3 seasons. And for him, that just so happens to be his first 3 seasons in the league, from his rookie year all the way up to this past season. I just wanted to tweet it out. I thought it was a good stat. I know I'm dubbed as a Najee hater, but listen, man, you got to give respect where respect's due. You do. What does it mean? I don't know. What does it mean going forward? I don't know exactly. I think we got a guy that we could rely on. Do we want to pay him a lot of money? That's a different question. The 5th-year option was just reported to be $6.7 million for running backs. So should the Steelers pick that up? I would be fine with it. I would be fine with it for 1 year. Now, is Najee going to be thrilled about that? Is he going to want some more security? Is he going to want a multi-year deal? We'll find out. I thought this one was funny. AB detailed why he requested a trade from the Steelers way back in the day. He said, I just felt like at some point in your career, you want to win a Super Bowl. And for me, I was just trying to put myself in the best scenario to accomplish that. And I did. Brown was then asked if he didn't think it could happen in Pittsburgh. He says, yeah, it wasn't. So you mean to tell me AB's grand scheme was to request a trade out of Pittsburgh, essentially go scorched earth policy and rip on Mike Tomlin, Big Ben, and the owner, get traded to the Raiders in this whole process here, and then before the season starts in 2019, no, was it 2019? Yeah, it was 2019. Before the season started in 2019, he was going to forego the $30 million guaranteed to him if he was on the Raiders roster by week 1. He wanted to forego that. Just completely blow up the situation out there in, was it Vegas? I think it was Oakland still at the time. He completely blew that up. Loses $30 million guaranteed, and then finds himself on the Patriots, plays there for a game, gets suspended for the whole season, is a free agent. The following year is suspended for the first 8 games. Then he goes to Tampa. Like, this was AB's grand scheme to get to a Super Bowl. I'm calling cap. I am calling cap on that. That is a lie. Oh my. All right, we'll finish it off with that. Let's get into, because I had one more thing, but maybe I'll save it for later. Let's get into some of these draft prospects. We got Muggsy12 saying the Steelers should take a wide receiver. At 20? Saying if Brian Thomas is there at 20, you take him. That's high for a receiver, bro. I don't know about that. I do think we need to add to the receiver room, but it might be a veteran free agent or, a 3rd-round pick that does the job. I don't think we should spend that high for a receiver. We got too many other needs. We need offensive line. We need cornerback. We need inside linebacker. And that's exactly my point here with these draft prospects. I'm going to go over those three groups and talk about some of the top guys. Like I got them listed here, and maybe rattle off a thing or two that I like about each of these players. I'm going to start with inside linebackers. First guy on my list is Jeremiah Trotter out of Clemson. Watch his highlights. He is a Pittsburgh Steeler. The dude hits with intentions. The only problem is he's a little undersized. The guy he reminds me of is a linebacker already on the Steelers roster, and that's a Landon Roberts. He looks just like a Landon Roberts out there. So everything we love about a Landon Roberts with his physicality and how much he wants to hit people, get after it, like all that stuff Jeremiah Trotter has. That's why I think he is a Pittsburgh Steeler. Plus, he's got the pedigree. His dad was in the league back in the day with the Eagles and with Washington. But I think the difference between Trotter and Roberts is he's a little bit better in coverage and he's more athletic. So that's what excites me. Undersized, around 6 feet. But I think there's still room for a Jeremiah Trotter in the NFL. And I'd be surprised if he falls out of the second round. I think he's going to go second round. He's my number one inside linebacker prospect for this draft. I think the only thing holding him back is the height, is the size. Because if he was as tall as like a Micah Parsons, dude would probably go in top 15. But I think that's where you could find the value because teams sometimes worry about too much of the combine size, the measurables and all that, and forget that, I don't know, it's still football, man. Like you gotta play football. Like you gotta hit. It's not just about looking good in shorts and a t-shirt. I think Jeremiah Trotter is a football player. Is a Pittsburgh Steeler type of football player. Second guy I got is Edgerrin Cooper, inside linebacker out of Texas A&M. This guy, like Trotter, hits with bad intentions. I don't know how good he is in coverage necessarily, but he can get after it. He can go like sideline to sideline. He's a pretty good quarterback spy too. I got to see that a couple of times on his tape where like he's just going to hang back there and wherever the quarterback's going, he's going to follow him. So I like him. Like if we don't get a Jeremiah Trotter, I think he'd be a good second option. Peyton Wilson out of NC State. He looks like a dude that gets after it. Good at blitzing. He's a good tackler. I question his coverage. I did not see much of him in coverage from some of the highlights that I saw. But last, I'll bring up Cedric Gray. He's going to be the fourth guy on like our inside linebacker target list out of University of North Carolina. He reminds me of Trenton Simpson from last year, coming out of Clemson. Pretty good in coverage. Like I think that is his calling card, but I wonder with his size and just, I'm not going to say his effort because I think he is a willing tackler. I just wonder with his size if he's going to be able to hold up in the run game as much as you would want out of your inside linebacker, because I did see some slip ups here and there from his North Carolina tape. That's all. He did pretty good in the Senior Bowl though. I think he's being talked about as like a third round, fourth round guy. And at that spot, I think it'd be a good look for the Steelers to take a Cedric Gray. Because we are missing a coverage linebacker. We are. I think Jeremiah Trotter is more of a do-it-all type of guy. Could be lacking a little bit in coverage. A little bit. But I don't think he's going to kill you by any stretch of the imagination. But if we really wanted to just go coverage linebacker, prototype, coverage linebacker mold, Cedric Gray might be the guy. Centers. We know the man of the hour is being linked to the Steelers over these last 2 weeks, and that's Jackson Powers-Johnson. Dude looks like a monster out of Oregon. You watch some of his stuff, man. Like, he reminded me of Pouncey. He's not as, like, big as Pouncey. I don't know if he's necessarily all the way as athletic as Pouncey, but he can move. He takes that snap, he'll get around the edge, go to the second level, and then he'll bury dudes. Like, he'll knock dudes out. But then also, he's just, like, stout in protection, pass protection, or just run game protection, even when he's not moving. Like, I think he's fundamentally sound. He's got the upside that I don't think these other two necessarily have. And the second guy on this center list, I got Zach Frazier. A lot of similarities to Jackson Powers-Johnson. Size is similar. They're both like 6'3". Powers-Johnson is a little heavier. Frazier, just not as athletic, though. I think he's just a tier down, a little bit worse than JPJ in a lot of attributes, a lot of categories. But if we can't get Powers Johnson early on, I think Frazier would be a perfect second-round pick for us. And then Cedric Van Pran. And Zach Frazier, he's out of West Virginia. I really didn't want to mention that, but I guess I'll give you guys that detail in case you didn't know. It's hail to pit over here. But anyway, Cedric Van Pran out of Georgia is the third center on my list. I think he's like a tier below both JPJ and Zach Frazier. Like JPJ in a league of his own, Zach Frazier just to step it down, but Cedric Van Pran I think is like another level down from Zach Frazier. It's just not all the way there. I don't think he's as refined as the first two centers that I mentioned. He's missing that takeover ability. Like if you watch him, he's just there. He's a big body. I think he moves pretty decent for his body size. But he's not necessarily like great with his hands. He's not putting dudes down. And he's not what you're looking for out of your offensive lineman in terms of being a mauler, being a dog. Could he develop into that? I don't know. But that's why I think he'll go later in the draft than Powers Johnson or Zach Frazier. Now to cornerbacks. And you guys mentioned some of your top draft prospects in the chat, because I'll read them off before I get out of here. I like a lot of guys at cornerback. My main five, I got Terrion Arnold out of Alabama. These corners aren't necessarily in order. The linebackers and the centers, those were in order. With corner, I like a lot of these guys. Like they all have their pros and cons. Terrion Arnold out of Alabama, Nate Wiggins out of Clemson, Lassiter out of Georgia, Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama, and then Quinyon Mitchell. Terrion Arnold, dude's a ball hawk. Dude had 5 picks last year. He's got good size to him, but I don't know if he's as sticky in coverage as his teammate Kool-Aid McKinstry. But Kool-Aid McKinstry, I think, has a smaller frame than Terrion Arnold. And I don't know if he makes as many splash plays. Well, I know that he didn't at Alabama. I don't know if that's going to translate to the NFL or not. Whereas Terrion Arnold, he had 5 picks this year. Kool-Aid McKinstry, he's one of those dudes. I think maybe his coverage is that good. He's not getting the ball thrown his way. But the unfortunate thing with him is his size. Like, he's pretty lanky out there. And we already have a lanky cornerback in JPJ who's not the most amazing of tacklers. We got to see that throughout the season. He did improve. I think his dad got in his ear. And, yeah, he became a better tackler for the last half of the season. But do we want another JPJ style of guy, or do we want a Terrion Arnold who is a little bit more physical, who does have some better size to him? Nate Wiggins, I think he's a little bit like Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think he's more athletic, though, just from the eye test. Maybe more top-end speed as well. Just a good coverage dude. Lassiter out of Georgia, physical player. Like, I think he would be an awesome Steelers cornerback. To pair him up with JPJ, extremely physical dude. Not afraid to tackle at all. Wants to tackle. Big celebration guy after he makes a hit on you. Like, momentum changing type of dude. Definitely has that dog in him, but I don't think he has great ball skills. You see him, he's good in coverage down the field, but he doesn't have the best ability to locate the ball and try to get a pick. And then Quinyon Mitchell, he was rated, even though he was at a small school in Toledo, he was rated as one of the top corners, I think the top coverage corner in college football last year by PFF. PFF grades, take him with a grain of salt. But he's also a ball hawk. Has a ton of picks over the course of his career out in Toledo. He's made some game-changing plays like pick sixes. So you got to like that. The question is it just because of the lower competition? Sometimes it plays out to where the guy is just flat out good and it doesn't matter about the competition he played in college. Another guy at Toledo is Deontay Johnson. We see he's translated into the NFL pretty nicely. A lot of other small college players translate to the NFL nicely, but it is something to think about. Whereas you got guys like McKinstry, Lassiter, Wiggins, Arnold playing at top schools, playing against top competition. So a little bit less of a question mark there with them. But those are the guys we're looking at, man. Center, we obviously need a center. with us releasing Mason Cole. We probably needed a center even with Mason Cole, let's be honest. We just released him. Big vacancy there. Cornerback, we need a guy across from JPJ, whether we pick a dude up in the free agency or in the draft. These are the 5 right now that I like at the cornerback position. And then at inside linebacker, became clear as day that we need to make some changes in that room. And it's unfortunate because it's not necessarily based off bad play. It's because of injuries. The trio of Elandon Roberts, Quan Alexander, and Cole Holcomb was doing so good for the first 8-9 weeks of the season. But then Holcomb goes down with a bad ACL injury, and Quan Alexander's out with an Achilles. So all we really got as a guy to rely on is Elandon Roberts. That's it. I expect Cole Holcomb to be back early in the season, but how much rust is he going to have? And Quan Alexander, I don't know about him, man. That Achilles, that's a tough injury. That's tough. So we got to address the inside linebacker room, whether it is just like cornerback picking up a dude in free agency or in the draft. And yeah, those are the inside linebackers I like. At least I'm looking at early on here. Tommy Viston says, I just got here. Did Deke say what position we should draft in the first? I'm good with a combination of those 3. Center, inside linebacker, and cornerback. One of those 3 is what we should be taking in the first. And I think some of that depends on what we do with our signings in free agency. Because if we take a cornerback, like if we sign Jalen Johnson or Jerry Sneed or Xavier Heyward, no reason to take a cornerback early in the draft, right? If we sign a Patrick Queen, no reason to pick up an inside linebacker in the draft early. Because we could ride with an uncertain Cole Holcomb with his injury, a Patrick Queen and a Elandon Roberts. I'd be fine with that. Maybe you draft a Cedric Gray or maybe one of these coverage linebackers in the 3rd or 4th round to just fill out the room. But no, if we sign a linebacker, no reason to take a dude early. So it's just going to depend. But I think as we sit here right now, those are my top 3. Center, inside linebacker, corner. Like if we got one of those cornerbacks in the first round, say we get Kool-Aid McKinstry, and then we draft a Zach Frazier in the 2nd, and then the 3rd, we get like a Peyton Wilson or a Cedric Gray. That's not a bad draft at all. Not bad at all. I would take that. Or you could do Jackson Powers Johnson in the 1st. Maybe you take, I don't know if any of those corners will be there in the 2nd, though. You might have to go to the next tier of corners, which wouldn't be a bad thing. Because there's some other good guys. I think they got a pretty deep class this year at the cornerback position. But I don't know if any of them are like top tier, like we were talking about with like Patrick Surtain back in the day, where this guy's going to be like a bona fide like top 10 pick, or even last year with like Devin Witherspoon. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if these cornerbacks are like that. But there's good depth, so maybe you could snag a dude in the 2nd there, and then, yeah, again, inside linebacker in the 3rd. Come on, man. Jay Brown Steelers. Didn't you hear my intro? He's ripping on Kenny here. How do we tell Kenny to get the hell out and he actually listened? Come on, man. Come on. This is what I'm talking about. This dude knows Kenny's done. He knows that Kenny's hit his ceiling. He knows that Kenny sucks. Kenny, it's impossible for him to develop year 3 with an Arthur Smith. It's impossible. Nah, come on, bro. Come on. Let's see. Yeah, that might be it. I'm trying to see if we got any more comments here. Tommy Vincent says inside linebacker in the 2nd round. That would be, if we get Jeremiah Trotter in the 2nd round, that'd be perfect. That'd be money, in my opinion. Don't forget we got Corey Trice chilling, but I don't know if you could hang your hat on him being your CB2 next year. I don't think you can do that with him coming off that injury. We didn't get to see him at all his rookie year. I was hoping we'd almost do the JPJ approach with Corey Trice. Maybe to a lesser extent. I know JPJ played pretty early on, like not that many snaps, but we brought him along. He became the starter by, week 5, week 6. I thought we'd do the same to Corey Trice, but it would just be a little bit longer in the season, right? Where like, okay, maybe by week 5, week 6, Trice starts to get some PT. And then we take it slow with him. And then, by the last like 3 or 4 weeks of the season, he's playing significant snaps. But that didn't happen. He was hurt the whole year. It's a bummer. It's a bummer. But all right, that's it for today's show, guys. Appreciate everyone for stopping through. That was fun. We talked quarterbacks. We talked Cam Heyward tweets, AB tweets, and what else? What was the Naji stat? The Naji stat. That's a good stat, man. That's a good stat. And then also broke down the Steelers' top draft prospects right now. The way too early top draft prospects. Although is it too early? We're 2 months away. We're 2 months away. We're getting there. But stay chilling, everyone. I'll see you on the flip side. Peace.